I've been using Linux since 2018, 2019, somewhere around there. And I've said before, I do not consider myself an expert. I recently learned something new that blew my mind, which honestly isn't as is probably more frequent than you probably realize. If you've been using Linux for even a short period of time, you've probably come into contact with a configuration file. What about a configuration directory? And did you know it was a configuration directory? If you're not familiar with a configuration directory, don't worry, I'm going to tell you. This is B from Talk Tech, and today I'm going to tell you about configuration directories. Stick with me. I have a favor to ask. If you like this type of video and want to see more content like it, make sure you are subscribed and hit the bell button for notifications. Also, don't forget to give this video a like if you like it. Let me know what you liked, didn't like, or if you have any comments, questions, concerns, or emotional outbursts down in the comment section below. And lastly, make sure you stick around all the way to the end to get the most out of this video. Let's do this thing. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink my face down because I am going to be covering a few things here on the command line. Let me just make this a little bit smaller. There you go. All right, so this all started when I was preparing for a video on configuring SSH using the configuration file. And just in case you're not familiar, no, let's do sudo vim etc ssh the big. This is what we're talking about here. I'm not going to go into this detail in this file. I went into more detail in that video, so go check that video out if you want to know more. All right, so yeah, so I was working through this file, and this is exactly what I used in actually the previous video that I just recorded in regards to troubleshooting this issue. So go check that one out if you want to see me go through the troubleshooting process for this. But I was actually configuring this to where I wanted to set password authentication to no, so that we're only going to be able to log in with certificates, just kind of testing out different settings and things like that. Well, the problem that I ran into is that even though I set password authentication to no here, it was still allowing me to log in. And I was like, well, what in the world's going on here? Like, this isn't correct. It shouldn't be allowing me to log in here. I'm sorry, it should be allowing me to log in here, but it kept doing it. Well, that's when I started doing some digging. And honestly, that's usually what my go-to response is when I don't know something, because I literally just type my question to Google and see what it is that it spits out at me. And after some searching, I learned that the SSH configuration directory, let me actually get out of here and I can show you what that one is. Let's actually just click out of here. And let's go ahead and clear this out so we can go back to the top. The etc configuration directory, which is going to be ls etc ssh sshd config.d. And this one has 3 files in it. This is an Ubuntu server, and Ubuntu server and a lot of the other distributions that utilize this location, this directory, only have 1 file. I actually put these other files in there for testing purposes. So that's why you're seeing 3 in my particular case. But the one that was the default one was this one right here, 50 cloud tac 50 init cloud 50 tac cloud tac init.conf. That was, I don't know why I had a hard time saying that, but this is the file right here that was there originally. Well, I was looking looking into the issue, and I was like, what the flip? I was like, what in the world is the SSH configuration directory? And more broadly, what is a configuration directory? And I'm confused here. And that's when I started learning more about these configuration directories. And essentially, in this particular case, what I was able to go ahead and learn is that this file in the configuration directory, this file right here, was actually overriding my settings because it was being given preference over the actual traditional configuration file. And I was actually able to test this out by commenting out and actually I'm gonna show this to you here. Let's go back up. All right, there we go. So the way I tested this was I actually went in there and commented this out, and it's not actually commented out right now. So that's why you're not actually seeing the comment there. But I went in there and commented out, and sure enough, my configuration in the configuration file worked. So I was like, sweet, and what I learned is that not only is there a configuration file, but that they also take precedence over the actual configuration file. Now, there's a couple. I was able to test. I was also able to. Actually, I'm sorry. Examples of other configuration directories include. Let's just do ls etc network. Then we're gonna do interfaces dot interface dot. Is it interface or interfaces? Oh, there we go. Yeah, we can use one of these. Yeah, here we go. We can use this one right here. Let's do the pre. And these are examples of configuration directories. And these configuration directories are going to vary depending on the application that you're using. One of the things I can tell you, in addition to them taking precedence over the actual configuration file for SSH, is that the number actually does matter. So in this particular case, I did 3 of them. That's why you see 3 files here, because I wanted to test it. This one says yes. This one says yes, but this one says no. But you're like, oh, well, the configuration file for SSH also says no. But yeah, but the issue is that this file said yes. And when I didn't have it commented out, it was still allowing us to sign in. Well, when I created this one, 49 Cloud init, I was able to go ahead and specify in there no to password authentication. I'll actually show it to you here. You can see it's being denied, even though we saw inside of 50 that it says that it's up. So we know that that is working exactly like I am explaining it to you. So now your question, like going back to configuration directories, your question is probably, why would these exist? And they exist to allow making configuration changes by multiple parties easier. Using this approach, you can have multiple administrators or applications add configurations that they need to this directory. And what can happen is if you only have a single centralized file for configuration, is there's a lot of automation that's starting to happen, especially with installing applications and scripts and stuff like that. But these systems and automation are not great at actually updating a configuration file the way that a human would. So because they're not good at that, this is a way that we can actually have them update a file, stick it in here, and not screw up the actual core configuration file, because that's the last thing that you want to do. Is you don't want to it's great when you have it set up like this, because not only are you making it easier for multiple people to update it, but you have that core file there. So say if you need, like, worst case scenario, if you needed to nuke everything, you could nuke all of those files in the configuration directory, and then you could just go back to relying on the actual configuration file, and that's still there. And honestly, if you have multiple automated systems plus humans updating the same centralized file, it's going to get really messy really, really quick. And knowing what I know from like my day job, when you have multiple people working on the same file, there's always going to be conflicts as far as who's updated what, who saved what, and stuff like that. And it's one of those things that I absolutely hate, because it's like, hey, like people just, they don't think before they do that, and it's just not a great system to do it. And it's not their fault, right? But it's always the other person and not you. But yeah. So let me see here. I think I covered pretty much everything that I wanted there. Yeah. Yeah, and just I think I've said this before, but these facts, that I've been, a lot of this talk that I've been talking about today has been in regards to the SSH configuration directory. Now, generally, these are going to work the same, but each one's going to be treated differently. Like an application actually has to know that directory is going to be available for it to actually take advantage of it. So don't think that you can just add this to an application. That application is going to know, like, hey, look, I can search here for configuration files. That's not how this is going to work, but it is going to vary slightly by configuration. So I would highly encourage you to go ahead and look into that. Into that application, go to the man page. That's one of the ways that we found out about this issue, was that we went to the man page. Man Etsy, sshd _config. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's man chd underscore config. And we can actually see right here that it includes, by default, it includes this, right? And this is what's allowing SSH, that SSH configuration file, to take into account any files that are in here, so long as they end in .conf. So that's where that comes from. But yeah, if you were wondering what these directories were, now you know. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction. Make sure you check out this other video from my channel. Remember, mistakes make you better, so keep on making them. Thank you so much for watching my video, and have the greatest of days.